All right, this is chapter 28, summary and discussion of To Kill a Mockingbird. So Jim and Scout, they're going to the Halloween party and the pageant. This is really comical because Scout's costume is a ham. I told you that would come in later. And she misses the entrance to the pageant, and then she's accused of ruining the whole show because she has fallen asleep. And several people in the audience think it's really funny because they were bored by the pageant anyway, because who put the pageant on? Mrs. Grace Merriweather. So on the way back home, Jim hears a noise behind him and Scout, and they think it must be Cecil Jacobs who's trying to frighten them again. And Scout even tries to taunt Cecil, calling him a big fat hen. And they call out to him, and they hear nothing. And so they've almost reached the road when someone begins running after them. Jim screams, and he hears Scout and tells Scout to run. But in the dark, in her costume, she falls because it's a very bulky costume. And something tears at the metal mesh, and she hears struggling behind her. Jim attempts to drag Scout to the road, but their attacker pulls them back in. Scout hears a crunching sound, and Jim screams. She runs toward him and is grabbed and squeezed. Suddenly, her attacker is pulled away. Once the noise has stopped, Scout feels on the ground for Jim, finding only a man smelling of whiskey. Wonder who that is. She stumbles toward home and sees in the light of a street lamp a man carrying Jim toward her house. Atticus tells Heck Tate that someone has attacked his children, and Dr. Reynolds arrives and says that Scout and Jim were attacked, and Jim has broken his arm. Guess where? It's going to be badly at the elbow, okay? And he has a bump on his head, but that he will be all right. And then Scout goes in to see Jim. And then the man that carried Jim home is standing in the corner of the room. She doesn't recognize him. And Heck Tate arrives and tells Atticus that Bob Ewell is lying under a tree, dead, with a knife under his ribs. So a lot has happened in this chapter. Like, holy moly. This is what we're going to call the climax of the novel. So remember that plot diagram? Okay, got the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. And so this is the climax of the novel. This is where everything just comes to an head because Bob Ewell has attacked Jim and Scout. He has tried to hurt Atticus where he knew it would hurt him the most. And so he attacked his children, but what protected Scout from getting stabbed? It was going to be her costume because it had chicken wire, her ham costume. So her being a ham protect her. That's pretty funny. But the chicken wire protected the knife from going through her costume. And so with somebody else, a fourth person comes into the picture and saves Jim and Scout and totes Jim home. And guess who that was? He is standing in the corner of the room. And Scout has never seen him before, but she wishes she had seen him before and another time in the novel. Who is it? It is none other than Boo Radley. This is my example of Boo, because if we're going to talk about Boo and his name, like his namesake comes from the idea of a ghost. And so for a ghost to appear would be shocking. And so Scout is very much surprised, but she's also surprised that he doesn't look like a monster. He looks like a normal human being. And so Boo, this guy they had chalked up to be a monster and a ghost this whole entire novel, is actually the one that swept in and saved the day. So like this could be like you know, not believing in someone or having like a myth thought out about someone and then them coming in and saving the day. It's a very interesting concept that the one person they had kind of been bullying a little bit saved them. And he was the kindest one. And so that, my friends, is one of the lessons of the story here. Hey, Boo.